Well, we're live, right?
Well, here we go, guys. Welcome back, Sunday. Happy Thanksgiving to all our good American friends there. Hope you're all feeling fat. You guys are looking fatter than normal, so you're well fed.
Oh, shit.
Damn, someone's throwing hardballs.
Yeah, so here we are, Sunday night, talking about our usual creepy stuff. We are double strangeness, three strangers who came together with a love of the paranormal, spooky, and just downright weird stuff. And this week we are talking about some giants. So, did you guys have fun checking out this one, or?
I mean, my wife said to me, "If you want to see a giant, why don't you go look in the mirror?" But
I love it. How about you, Scott?
Yeah, no, this one was pretty. There's a lot of controversy on giants, right? Like, there's people thinking that like the government's hiding the fact. The Smithsonian covered it up. Like, it's pretty interesting.
I've heard a lot of reports that every time that someone in the U.S. finds skeletons of it, that the men in black are there pretty damn fast to cover it all up.
Well, I mean, I've got newspaper articles that go back to the 1800s. I mean, there's a lot of weird proof. So it is kind of suspicious.
And then bones, and then scientists throwing their 2 cents in. So yeah.
And one of the most famous circus owners ever that threw his own hat in the ring for that one as well. But I'll get into that a little bit later.
I do have a question from our last episode.
What's that now?
So this was on BitChute and user uniqueness. So you guys can help answer this question for them. I think that the craters on the moon are not exactly craters from asteroids/meteors, at least not all of them. Many seem like perfect imprints of some sort, like an attempt to make some sort of satellite dish out of the unique rock. Possible knowing the qualities it has, like the ability to transmit electromagnetic energy and beam it towards the earth, etc. Is it possible mountains transmit and take in energy? Is this theory is true? Because there are conflicting arguments about how mountains form in the middle of craters on the moon, perfectly centered, mind you.
That's a freaking mouthful, but I mean, it's possible. I mean, I've also heard theories that some of them are footprints from aliens and whatnot, but I mean, it ain't possible anything made that. I mean,
then foundations of structures too, right? Like we were talking about, that is interesting. Stone holds vibrations in it, right? That's interesting.
When I read his question, I was trying to think, like, I've never actually seen where an asteroid has hit the earth and made like a perfect little saucer.
Apparently you haven't lived in Kansas where Clark Kent landed about 50 years ago.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough if like that actually is a thing that happens on Earth. I've never seen it on the internet or anything. So
we'll have to check that out, because there's got to be pictures, right? And, but I would think it's more like kaboom, and it's kind of messy, not like beautiful round, right?
Oh,
it's interesting.
It destroys land. I mean, I've seen pictures of it happening in the United States. Like, it destroys wherever it lands. Like it lands and it slides and it uproots everything in its path, like trees, whatnot.
Like, right. So that makes sense that these are so perfect. They're either, made purposely as some sort of structure, or something like that.
Or there's some type of underground base there because they built out an entrance exactly how they wanted it. So I mean,
I like to think of it as the big Shell station for, the gas station for the aliens to stop at.
Well, I know they did launch that missile at it, and it rang. Like the U.S. government, NASA even admits that the moon itself rang like a bell. So, like, God knows what's going on with that, right?
All right. Well, let me put on my brown cloak. That's no moon. That's a space station. But
Wow.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, anything's possible in this world nowadays. I mean, it could have been an interdimensional like collision as well. Who the hell knows?
Well, that's an interesting question. Like, thanks for that question. That almost, warrants kind of going back and doing another show in the future about it and digging some more,
Well, the funny thing is, I was looking at mods for my Mr. Buddy heater. It's getting cold, you know what I'm saying? But I found these stove heaters, and they're fans, and they're built a certain way. You should check them out on YouTube. But you put it on top of your wood burning stove or your Mr. Buddy heater, and the heat causes the fans to spin. So like the energy that's coming from the heat is actually making these mechanical fans spin. So maybe the mountains or, whatever these, structures are, maybe they do cause some sort of energy.
Interesting. Yeah.
We will have to hit that with was the moonlighting faked part 2? The moon the moon is made of cheese.
Round 2. So, I guess. Well, this week we're talking about giants. So, and giants are everywhere. Like in folklore, scientists weigh in, skeleton remains, whatever, from Paul Bunyan of America folklore to the Norse creator god Ym. The giant humans are popular in all, myths and folklore. So again, it's one of those things, if the same stories keep popping up worldwide, different versions of it, you can kind of think it's got to be something there, right?
Exactly. I mean, I got some other versions of it too, but we'll let Scott go first because his history is technically
Debra can go first. Mine, I don't think mine's gonna.
I didn't know if Debra had history this week. I thought you kind of brought it.
Well, I just sort of did a smorgasbord of whatever, but I wrote a little bit. So the Greek mythology. So if you're really going to get to origins of stuff, they believed that before there were any humans on Pele, the story goes that a battle was fought between the gods and the giants, and traces of the giants' demise continue to be seen to this day whenever there's floods and the banks burst and water breaks into the fields. All these large skeletons pop up. They keep showing up. And so scientists kind of weigh in on this, and they think it's more like mammoth bones and prehistoric animal bones, and people just didn't know what they are, and they're misidentifying them or whatever. But scientists say that it's very unlikely that there was any giant humans. Neanderthals actually stood on average several inches shorter than us. However, the largest humanoid, it's the humanoid Dicopithecus. They stood about 10 feet tall. They died out a few 100,000 years ago. That's like a type of giant ape. So it would be like a bit of a cousin of ours, according to the scientists. However, they just found, I don't know if did you guys read about the giant skeleton in China? It just came out in So this skeleton was found in northern China, in Harbin. And basically this farmer, he was building a bridge and he found this giant skeleton in the 1930s. And he hid it in a well because of World War II. He thought it would be taken as a trophy by the Japanese. So he hid it down in this well. And he told his grandchildren about it on his deathbed in 2018. So really recently. The researchers, so the grandchildren got it out and they gave it to Beijing Area University. And researchers are studying this thing. And they published it in the journal Innovation. And it said that the skull came from a previously undiscovered human species named Homo longi, the dragon man. They called it the dragon man. And it is the largest human skull ever found. And the researchers say it was male, and he lived between 146,000 to 296,000 years ago. So, and there are other exceptional actual humans that have been recorded as being exceptionally tall. I don't know if you guys heard of that. Robert Wadlin. He was
8'11".
8'11". So that guy, right? So there's bones of really tall, but they think that that's always because of a hormonal disorder. Generally, people, that are that tall, it's some growth abnormality. And there's been a few of them, right? Throughout, so you see these great big, these great big huge skeletons, but that's really just a human with a, thyroid, hormonal type problem.
Like Andre the Giant or Bigfoot.
What's the guy that's...
Big Show.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna tallest man in the world, because we have one of those right now. He's been in pop culture since like I was a kid.
Well, there's all kinds of photos of the humans that are just, ginormously tall. Like,
yeah,
there's a photo of the Queen seeing the skeleton of one. I'm not sure. I think it might be that one, that Waldman guy. But yeah, so but not exceeding like 10 feet tall, or and these giants are supposed to be 20 feet tall, right? So that's a whole different thing. But it's interesting, this Chinese, that's the biggest one that's ever been found. And really it was just, just kind of, well, it was discovered in the 30s, but now in 2018, they finally have it and researching it. So that's kind of cool. So that's kind of all the history I got. Do you have more history, or you just got?
I got history. Did you want to finish yours, or?
Well, the only other thing I was going to talk about when Jeremy sent me that thing. So it's it's actually a really interesting story. This guy in Alberta, he actually put up a TikTok video of a giant man on a mountaintop in Whistler. And it's kind of a weird story, because he started getting really paranoid, and at one point he kind of backtracked and said it was a hoax, and then he said it wasn't, and he thought he was being watched by men in black and secret agencies and stuff. There's a lot, and he ended up dying. So it's pretty mysterious.
You can okay. Well, I will show a video I found that's supposed to be of the same name, which wasn't on that crazy link you sent me, but okay, here we go. Sharing sound. Got it loaded up, no commercials.
You might have seen it already and you might not have. A few channels and pages have shown this, but they've simply just shown the figure on the mountain video. But we're going to dig a little bit deeper and follow the backstory to this sighting. And Andrew Dawson, on his way to work with his mate, notices a large figure on the mountain in the distance. The location is the Whistler's Mountain in Alberta, Canada. The video is very shaky. He's got the camera on max zoom while moving in a car. So let's take a look.
What is it?
It's a person, dude. No, seriously, pull over, pull over.
No.
There's a person standing there.
No, it's not.
Dude, if you've seen what I've seen right now.
Whatever that thing was up there, it was massive. If that was a human being, I don't think you'd even be able to see a person stood up there. There would literally be a speck in the distance, a tiny pixel. Was it a Nephilim, a Yeti, some kind of secret tech, a UFO, or a military experiment? Because this is where it gets interesting. After this video went viral, calculating over 2.5 million views on his TikTok alone, Andrew claims to have been stalked or hounded by government personnel or CIA agents. But we'll get to that in a sec. Andrew visited the mountain again the next day to see if the object was still there, so he could post it for his followers who were very keen to get more answers. And as you can imagine, he racked up a lot of followers because of this giant on the mountain video.
I'm gonna use this.
What do you guys think that is? It looked like when they zoomed in, it looked
Look like a
structure or something.
Look like
Exactly. It looked human until they zoomed in, and then
I
it looks.
I was gonna say it looks like a tree.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
It looks man-made to me, really.
Yeah, like some sort of, because it's sort of standing all stiff and still. Let's see what, well, let me give credit to whoever's video this is first. So this is disclose screen the
Grim Reaper.
Grim Reaper. Grim Reaper, that's
Has a
perfect.
tripod to try to keep it steady for you guys. And it's not even there anymore, too. That's
Oh,
where it
that's
was
interesting.
yesterday.
It's extraterrestrial
I spoke
advantage.
to some locals and it comes and goes apparently. I don't know.
So it's extraterrestrial then.
See, that's me trying to keep
Yeah.
it super steady with something. There we go.
I
You
mean-
know how hard it is to keep it steady with zoomed in?
Maybe it's
all the way?
Thanos or King the Conqueror or something. Just
I wish he
watching
would have
Earth.
So the
recorded
object
the
clearly was not
video
there
with
the
the
next day.
locals.
Right, so after Andrew gained all of this attention, he continued to post about the event, with one of these updates including a short video showing helicopters moving from the mountain, claiming that the helicopters were extracting something from the mountain.
Yeah, what's
So
this
they're
about?
extracting something out of here. There's 2 helicopters. What the f?
You know, it looks
After
clear
further
cut.
inspection of this short clip,
well,
we've
no,
come to the
those are the
conclusion that
trees.
this was nothing strange but a tree trimmer attached to the helicopter.
Okay.
And Andrew was fully aware of this as he didn't get the full shot of the helicopter passing overhead.
So it was
The next
a
turn of
logger.
events was he uploaded a video showing him getting diverted away from the mountain by road by some type of official figure.
The guy's here again. Yeah, this is him. What's going on?
Road's closed. Turn around.
Really?
Yeah, man. Just turn around.
Oh, okay.
That kind of sounds like
Have
a
a good night, man.
teenager his age, doesn't it?
Oh, that was
Kinda, but I mean, a 20-something-year-old would sound just the
past
same.
him again. Just turned around. I don't understand why it's closed off though. It's public park or public road or whatever.
By this time, Andrew was getting a bit nervous as to what was happening to him or who was stalking him after the initial upload of this giant on the mountain video.
I think that's the same vehicle from. Hey!
Another paranoid video uploaded. Most of his followers were worried for the safety of Andrew, and at this point, so
I don't know. You guys think that could have been his friend, possibly, in the car, driving away real quick when he came out?
It's
Of course it's possible.
I
It's
mean-
possible.
but it's also very possible it was government people watching him.
I mean, what was that? What kind of car was that? That's pretty
It seemed like a regular, like,
Well, they wouldn't
black
be
Saturn.
like a
or
Dodge something or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
they wouldn't be using like a freaking Cadillac or anything. They're going to use something very conspicuous that anybody could drive
But why would they drive away?
because they don't want to have to confront him. They just want him to know he's being watched.
Well, you think like they'd be better off like coming out with showing him a gun or something?
No, you don't. You don't.
Remember, this guy's always videoing, right? So they might not want to do that. But
A
no,
good-
there's two
Take his
things. He could
camera.
either be trying to up video, like he knows he's getting a lot of views
Yeah,
because
mean-
of this, and that is a friend, or it really is the real deal. I don't know.
I mean, an agent's not going to if they want to watch you and not progress any further yet because they don't need to. You're not going to see them flash a gun or anything. They're just watching you, and they want you to know they're watching you.
But would they be that obvious that they're like speeding off
Yeah.
in a car when you look
I
out
don't
the
think
window
so.
too? I think they'd watch you for they wouldn't even probably know that they're watching because
well, they have those little mosquito drones now too. Like, would they
Right?
even need
Like-
a car?
that's it. They wouldn't be like, I don't think that they'd be parked right in front of your car and then speed off as soon as you look out the window.
Well, yeah, and
But
then like
I don't know.
especially if
I
they're
don't know.
trying to intimidate you, you think they would just like stare at you across the street, you know? But I don't know. Did you guys think that first I don't think that was trees that they were lifting off the mountain. That first video?
The logs?
Well,
Well, it was a tree trimmer, right? It was a delimber.
Yeah, it
is
was
what
a
they were
tree.
moving.
It was a tree trimmer, which I didn't know they even had. But
well, yeah, they do all that logging up in Alaska with helicopters, but that
claims to have been stalked or hounded
does not look like
Oh, that
No.
doesn't look, no, that's not.
logs. Yeah, I don't know what the
It-
hell. Can I
it
zoom
looks
into that?
It looks like a giant robot trying to look at Earth. That's what it looks like.
Or
That's
a
what it looks
ship
like, yeah.
or something, right? Like a man-made structure, some sort of structure.
Deborah, what the fuck's going on in Canada?
I don't know, but if the men in black come and bother you, I don't want to know.
I know what that is. That is a shrine to Trudeau. They built it out there. They're gonna.
They need to come helicopter him out, take him away.
Okay, where were we on that video? Are we watching the rest of where?
I think we're past the point where it's past to what we're talking about. Maybe.
Yeah,
The rest of it's gonna be
Okay.
speculation, probably.
yeah, and he does end up finding this guy mysteriously though, so. Don't know.
Yeah, it looked weird, but it did look more like a person walking when it wasn't zoomed in all the way.
That's what when I first saw it, I was like, wow, that's good. But yeah, when it zooms in, I'm not, I don't know.
Okay. I'll back up. So is that it? That's
That's it. It's on to you guys. Take her away.
okay. So obviously giants, they date back as long as we have stories, period. Hinduism, the oldest religion in the world, they had legends of the Datius race, which were giants that came from Diti and the sage Kashipa. And then in Muslim culture, they actually believe, not in the Quran, but in the Hadith, that states that Adam was 98 feet tall. And then we get into Christian beliefs, and I mean, tons of giants in Christian Judeo culture. But one question I did come across is the Nephilim came down, right? So the Nephilim were the angels that did it with the human women and had giant babies. But then the flood happened with Noah, which should have killed all of the giants off. It was only Noah's family that went afterwards. But then I found out that Noah's son Ham was married to Elatama Uk, which is a descendant from the Canaanites. And that's pretty interesting too, because when we did the Dogman episode, there was that mistranslation between the dogmen of Canaan, and now we're back to giants. So during that episode, I talked about how the dogmen of the Canaanites were supposed to be giant dog-headed creatures, but apparently they come from Ham's wife. And then Ham, in the story of Noah, he was mocking his naked father after. Did you guys see the Noah movie with Russell Crowe?
No, God no.
Okay. Well, like the Noah story period, they get off the ship and then Noah's like pissed off at God or whatever. So he goes off and gets drunk in a cave for months and months and months. And Ham comes into the cave and he starts mocking his naked father. And then the other two kids come and cover him up. And yeah.
Well, I mean, who doesn't
Sounds
like?
dysfunctional. Good God.
That's
Well,
in the
I mean,
Bible.
What kid doesn't like to mock their naked father? So
Drunk out of his head.
But then
Wow.
so, I mean, this is disputed, right? This is all disputed, but what people try to justify the reasons of Goliath or King Og or any of these other giants that lived past the flood was that Ham's wife was a Canaanite. And since Ham mocked his father, God let the Canaanite blood run through his offspring. So it was kind of like a punishment. He didn't directly punish Ham, but for the rest of time, his offspring would be cursed with the Canaanite blood. But everyone's heard the story of David and Goliath. That's like the most popular one. But there was also King Og, and he was supposed to be the last of the Raphaim. In Deuteronomy 3:11, it said that Og's bed was 9 cubits tall, which is 13 feet 9 inches, and 4 cubits wide, which equals 6 feet wide. And it was made of iron to hold him, and the bed fit him to his proportions.
Oh, wait a minute. That's the same bed they had on my 600-pound life, right?
Probably.
Oh,
I need
jeez.
something similar. There wasn't a bunch of butter and KFC back then, though. So I looked up when Og was around. Og lived around 1400 BC, which
E.
put no, don't start getting me all crazy with this nonsense they changed 15 years ago. He lived around 1400 BC, which roughly put him about 350 years prior to Goliath. And I could not find, because it says that Og was the last of the Rephaim, but I couldn't find if he was a direct descendant or Goliath was a direct descendant to him. So in the Bible, there's also Lami, and Lami is Goliath's brother, and then 2 of his sons, Scipia and Ish-Benob. But if we go look at Goliath is a super interesting story, because they said Goliath stood around 6 cubits and a span, which is around 9 foot 9 inches. And then you got to know what a cubit and a span is. So a cubit is supposed to be your elbow to your middle finger. And then a span is when you stretch your hand out, your thumb to your pinky. So obviously, you know, that's going to differ on somebody who's 6 foot and somebody who's 5 foot, which was the average height of a Jew back at that time. So David stood an estimated 5 foot tall. I mean, this fight between David and Goliath would be like if Ben Shapiro was 7 inches shorter than he is fighting Tyson Fury. So just put that into your head for perspective. But most of our Bibles, the problem with this story is most of our Bibles are written from the Masoretic text. So that came in the 6th century AD. So that's like a whole hell of a lot after Christ came and went. But if we look at like the origin of Christianity, the most popular Old Testament that they were using for their text was the Septuagint. And that dated 300 to 100 years before Christ. And in that, Goliath's height is 4 cubits and a span, which puts him more at 6'9", which is the size of Tyson Fury. And if you ever look at Hebrew lettering, like when they're like if you look at the text of Goliath's height stacked up on top of each other, and these people are writing this shit by hand. There are plenty of Bibles out there, the evil Bibles and all this stuff, where there were misprints. So the Masoretic text could have just been the biggest misprint in the most common used Old Testament Bible. That's kind of what I think it is. But so let's get out of Jesus world here. So then, yeah, I mean, we talked about Wadlow, and like you said, he has a problem with his. Basically, like a lot of these people, they get brain tumors and their growth hormones never stop.
Yeah.
So Wadlow was 8'11", but he had to walk with crutches and shit his entire life, and then he died at the age of 22.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
Yeah.
even if Goliath was one of these like record-holding tallest men, it's more than likely that he would have been too crippled to be the greatest warrior of the.
I mean, it's called. Don't they call it giantism? Like,
Yeah, gigantism.
yeah, like I mean, it's what Andre the Giant died from. It's what Big Show had, but they found a way to fix it now.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
So
I mean,
if he was the greatest warrior, it'd be, for 1 month or something, and he's
What-
past his prime real fast because their feet had real issues, right? they had no, well, that guy, blah, blah, or whatever, blah, blah, had no feeling in his feet. He ended up dying from a blister on his foot. He got infected. He had no feeling in them at all.
I didn't know he died from a blister. That's
Yeah,
pretty
that's what I
nice.
read.
It sounds familiar. Yeah.
I know there's other people like him now because I've seen pictures of like the tallest man living right now with the shortest man, like
Mhm.
on Facebook and stuff. And it's the same with the dude. I wish I could find his name. A quick Google search wouldn't do it, but he walks on the crutches too. Like he's not. But if you look at it through the lens of Ben Shapiro versus Tyson Fury, like that's a pretty big difference. You know what I'm saying? I think we would probably, if we were all walking around 5 foot tall and then we saw Tyson Fury, it'd be like, holy shit, that thing is different than I am.
I mean, or like that one Asian basketball player from the 2000s.
Yeah, or Shaq or whoever the
y-
fuck.
Yeah, Yao Ming. Like he was taller than Shaq. He was a freaking giant.
And they're big, you know.
Yeah.
But
Some of us are walking around at 5 feet tall there, by the way.
okay, so it's like Debra fighting Tyson Fury.
That's it. I can do it.
I
Bring
mean-
them on.
Better
I
have
mean-
that sling ready.
Yeah.
I believe in the United States, technically anything 5 feet or under is a little person.
Admit-
No,
yeah.
no, I don't accept that. I've had other people try to. I do not accept that. That's no. That's a no. Hard no.
So here's where I'll get into the pictures. Giants aren't just in religious texts and stories of shamanistic crap, but let's share the screen here. Well, which one am I going for first? Okay, so you were doing a little bit on Magellan.
Yeah, I got a full article on him.
Ferdinand Magellan was the first captain to have seen the giants in South America, but he didn't actually make it back to Spain. His first mate, Antonio Pigafetta, would return with the news, though. And so this is an actual quote from him. He says, "One day we saw a naked man of giant structure on shore of the port, dancing, singing, and throwing dust on his head. When the giant was in the captain general's and our presence, he raised his finger upwards, believing that we had come from the sky. He was so tall that we reached only to his waist, and he was well proportioned." And that took place in 1522. So that kind of lends credence to your aliens thing too.
Which is
Hmm.
it's interesting because Patagonia is in South America where they found them, and it's actually funny. I just happened to see a picture on Facebook that my cousin's there now on her honeymoon.
Oh, this is not the right one. God damn it! There's so
Well,
much shit on my screen. I have.
Down one, I think, or I don't know.
Okay, well, yeah, I got a bunch of these. These are all ancient maps. I went on maps.com.
Yeah.
And looked for a whole bunch of maps. I did not have these in order. So that's John Byron, Sebastian Munster. So, I mean, you can see
Yeah.
in these ancient maps from the 1600s where so yeah, this is it. Regio Gigantum. So this is Patagonia. And there are many maps where they've got these giants featured in the maps. But then, I mean, that spanned all the way from him. And then in 1544, Sebastian Munster, this is what the picture for this is. He would set sail to see them as well. He was the first one to name the region Regio Gigantum, which translates to region of the giants. And this guy is supposed to be a drawing of one of his crew with the giants. And then that continued all the way until 1766, where Captain John Byron would claim to see around 400 to 500 Patagonians that were all 8 foot to 9 foot tall. And that was published in the London Chronicle. I looked as hard as I could for that actual publication. I could not find it though.
So do you guys think, because in the pictures of the, real skeletons with people, it's about the same proportions, right? So could this just be a race of, humans that were that tall, like 8,
Well-
9, 10 feet, and then they were small and, interbreeding, I guess, and that's why there's, the odd one that pops up that might have that lineage that has, genetic problems or whatever.
Well, I mean,
Maybe.
Okay. I'll get more into a theory like that a little bit later on with my closing statement, but
Okay.
I mean, and actually, according to what I found that too. Well, is that all your Magellan stuff before I add on?
That's all my Magellan stuff. I'm getting into recent, like newspaper clippings from 100 years ago. So,
All right. Well, before we go to that, I will say that from what I found, they said on Patagonia that Magellan has men give the giant food and drink, and then they made the mistake of showing him a mirror, where the giant, upon seeing himself, was greatly terrified. Leaping back, say he threw 4 of the men onto the ground. But once things calmed down, they proceeded to make contact with the rest of the tribe, hunting with them, and even building a house to store the provisions while on shore. And after several weeks there, Magellan thought about an idea of kidnapping 2 of them and taking them back to Spain to prove he discovered giants. But it was a cunning trick, for otherwise the giants would have troubled some of our men. Magellan gave them all manner of metal goods to fool around with, mirrors, scissors, bells, so they wouldn't mind at all when he slapped cuffs and chains on their legs. Whereas these giants took great pleasure in seeing these fetters, and did not know where they had to be put. They were agreed that they could not take them into their hands, because their mitts already were full of other trinkets. Magellan, though, lost his evidence during the long haul back to Spain. The giants didn't survive. But what Magellan and Pigafetta did bring back was the tail and the new name of the land of the giants, Patagonia, the etymology of which is still unclear. Some have argued it means land of the big feet, from pata, Spanish for foot. More likely, though, Magellan picked up the name from a popular novel at the time, Prima Leon, which featured a race of wild people called the Patagonians. And Sir Francis Drake later made the contact with the same Patagonians as summarized by his nephew in The World Encompassed from 1628. So
yeah, no, I had that same story. But in the one I read, Magellan actually died, and then like a big portion of the crew died, and they threw them all overboard, and that's why there was no proof of these people.
Well, apparently, I don't know. That's contradictory stories then, because in this one, Magellan and his crew made it back to tell the tale.
Yeah, no, in the one I did, it was only the other dude. What was his name?
Patagonian, or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, Patagonian. He was the one that came back with the tail. But they did trap the 2 giants, and they brought them, and then a whole bunch of people died. They threw them overboard and made it back home. But
So they didn't bring the giant bodies or skeletons back to prove anything, or?
well, they threw everybody, even Magellan. He was the captain. They
I guess
threw him
back in
overboard.
those days it's probably
Yeah.
stinky and
Oh God, yeah. I mean,
Jesus, you throw
Get
them over.
typhoid
But
fever and all
Yeah.
sorts of shit.
even the Mayflower, they threw their dead overboard
Yeah.
out during the sea. I mean, come on. You're not gonna have them on the ship for a month longer. Like,
well, they could. Well, I guess it'd be gross, but just
It's-
bring the bones back, like just to prove it. I don't know.
Very interesting to look at. There's a lot of stories. Like I found over 10 stories, and maps.com, if you guys want to check it out, they don't have all of these maps, but there are a lot of maps that sort of back the stories up. So pretty interesting. And if anybody wants to buy me a $12,000 map out there, hit me up.
We'll start a GoFundMe. Global Strangeness GoFundMe for the map.
Scott better start Unfiltered to get that money.
Okay, I finish off my I only stuck with 3 news articles. So let me get the screen share. Okay. Screen share. We don't need sound. Okay, so the first one, 12 foot. So this is a news article from October 1919. It's from the Oklahoma, nope, sorry. This is from March of 1919. And it talks about a 12-foot tall skeleton that was reported to be found in Michigan by, and this is the Washburn Leader newspaper out of North Dakota. And this giant was supposedly found with a stake ran through its heart. So I don't know if they were killing giants the same way that they killed vampires, but I mean, anybody who's watching this, if you want to go look up the Library of Congress, this is the Washburn Leader, March 1919. So, or just hit me up and I'll send you the freaking page. Okay, let me get to the next one. This one's very interesting. And I actually have a shirt from a band Spaz I like, where they had the picture of this one on the shirt. So this is October of 1919 in the Oklahoma Times. And this is about a 32-foot mummified giant found in Mexico City. So that's like giant.
That's
These aren't
giant.
just tall people. And I've seen pictures of this one. So if they're real, I don't know. Photoshop has existed as long as I could. Yeah.
So
Not-
has anybody tested bones of these, or like where is this?
Well, that's the conspiracy, right? Is the Smithsonian took them all and they're hiding them from us. But why would they hide them? That's the question I have. Like, do you guys,
Damn, why is everything a secret?
what do you think they would hide? Like, what would be the reason? Like, to not
If it's
prove?
alien,
the
then
reason?
it's Jeremy. If it's some sort of
They hide them
they
because they
hide
don't.
'em.
They hide them because they don't want the public knowing that any disproof of Bible. That's why it's the religious nut jobs that run the government.
Well, this would prove the Bible. Like,
It
'cause
would.
If you
It would
believe,
in some way, but I mean, also supposedly they all died after the flood. So
I posted my research on Facebook, and the Christian, like it was out of all the research I've ever published, there have been some fights in these Facebook groups, man. The atheists and the Christians are like going straight at it. And the Christians are the ones that strongly believe that, Goliath was real, King Og was real. Like, so I don't know why the government would hide it other than to try to like not prove Christianity or Hinduism or whatever.
That, or if it's not a human, because scientists can test bones and stuff. So what if it is of alien nature?
Yeah, I guess.
They'd be hiding that, right? I mean, if it exists or whatever, that's always a big secret. That's interesting.
I mean, they lied to us about the moon landing. So okay, this is my
Yeah.
last one. This one was kind of interesting too. This is from the Waterbury Democrat. Shit, I should have had there's no date on this one. I fucked up there. But in this article, they found 34 mummies that were all 7 foot tall or bigger in a cave in the northern part of the Sonoran Desert in Mexico. So
what's going on in Mexico?
34 people over 7 foot tall, that would like prove that this was an actual race of people.
That's really interesting. It says the small feet of the giants. So again, there's feet issues.
Yeah.
Shows that they didn't walk very much.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
if anybody wants these, I've got them screenshot, or I'll
interesting.
send you the full Library of Congress articles. But there's a lot of them. It's pretty interesting. I don't know what to believe. But that's all I got.
Anyway, well, I guess first we'll go back in history a little bit more to talk about the other giants from history that Scott didn't mention, or Deborah, which the first one goes back to, well, ancient Greece and older, which is the one-eyed giant, the Cyclops, which was a man-eating giant who had one eye in the middle of his forehead. And in classic Greek mythology, the Cyclops captured the hero Sidious, who escaped to put out the Cyclops' eye, which is a classic tale. And then this is where I also said I would get to the other thing that Debra was mentioning, because there's also been tales of mountain giants, such as the Yeti, the abominable snowman of Tibet, the Yeren, the wild man of China, and Sasquatch, the Bigfoot of America, who are all mysterious giants who live in the mountains. And this is where I was going to get to earlier, Deborah, but I wanted to leave a little thing for later, because Gigantopithecus was supposedly one of the main theories for years was that is what Bigfoot is a hominoid from caveman days called Gigantopithecus, who they thought humans killed out. But what if humans didn't kill them? What if they just got smarter and said, humans go that way, we go that way, because they kill us? So, I mean, the Bigfoot, the Yeti, and all those are considered possibly ancient giants that just lived when we didn't think they did.
That makes sense.
Well, they've proved the gigantic Pithecus, right? Like that it lived during human times, even.
They theorized it never was scientifically proven.
And the Hobbit dude. What's the
Oh,
Hobbit
yeah,
dude's name?
the orang pendek, or
Yeah, something like that.
but, and of course, another one that's been rumored to be around was another man-eating giant called the Ogre, our good friend Shrek. But Rakshas was an ogre who lived in the palace of India. His golden jewels made him rich, but he was dirty and dumb. Like all ogres, he enjoyed eating people. Except for Shrek, who liked to eat just eyeballs and other weird things.
Well, so did Jeffrey Dahmer, and he ended up getting his own TV series. Come on now.
He's had multiple TV series. Who are you kidding? But, and then of course there are the stories of giantess. Gruagachs are Scottish giants and giantesses. Most giant wives are depicted as stay-at-homes who spend their time making bread out of ground-up human bones. Oh, and because I promised you this a couple weeks ago, Deborah.
Oh,
There's a giant.
look how cute. Yeah, there's gonna be a giant.
Yeah.
Oh my god, how adorable. Oh.
Yeah, there we go. Damn dog knocked my headphones out, but this is Moose. He is
Oh, he's sweet.
10 weeks old, and no, he's not sweet. He's a little freaking biter. He bites everything. But yeah, so where were they? So yes, giant wives stay at home all day just making bread out of human bones. Bethry, a French giantess, carried off young girls who did not want to spin thread in the cloth. But Grendel's mother, in the story of Beowulf, was an ogress who could sneak up on sleeping warriors and eat 15 of them at a time. It's one hungry woman. But she was then killed by the hero Beowulf, who used the magic sword of the giants to slay her. And then, of course, the other famous giant in mythology is the cold giant, named Jack Frost, who is an enormous, hoary giant whose cold breath freezes the earth, covering it with frost. His fierce roar can shatter icebergs. So, global
I
warming.
didn't know Jack Frost was a giant. I didn't know that. I thought he was like a little thing.
Well, and that just proves for all you eco nut jobs out there, Jack Frost caused global warming. Just saying. But
There, solved.
Well, you forgot to talk about Grilla too. I mean, 12 days. Her little Yule lads are coming to give you kids
Well,
some presents.
we'll save that for another episode, which I have talked about after we go off live anyway,
Okay,
because possible guest. But
cool.
the last thing I'm going to talk about, and Scott, this is kind of going to I'm going to be the skeptic here with this story, but
Okay.
I'm going to talk about the Cardiff Giant, the famous story of it. The Cardiff Giant is a 10-foot long gypsum figure known as America's Greatest Hoax. He has been on exhibit since the 1940s at the Farmers Museum. The Cardiff Giant exhibit traces the story of this petrified man, which was the centerpiece of a money-making scheme by a businessman from Binghamton, New York. The giant was created and displayed in the 19th century, and public reaction to it reflected the scientific and religious beliefs at the time. George Hull, a cigar maker and get-rich-quick artist, came up with the idea to create the giant during a business trip to Iowa. Hull, an atheist, argued with a revivalist minister about a biblical passage. The phrase, "there were giants in the earth in those days," Genesis 6:4, sparked Hull's imagination and led to an involved plot that eventually made him a fortune. In 1868, Hull went to Fort Dodge, Iowa, and ordered a 5-ton block of gypsum to create, he explained, a piece of patriotic statuary. The block was delivered to a stonecutter, Edward Burkhart, in Chicago, who, having been sworn to silence, created the giant. The figure was then secretly shipped to the village of Cardiff, just south of Syracuse, where it was placed in a pit and covered. In 1869, the man on whose farm Hull had hidden the giant hired 2 workmen to dig a well. He ordered them to dig it in the spot where the giant had been buried, and the workmen, thus directed, soon made their startling discovery. Word of unearthing a petrified man spread quickly around the countryside. People came from miles around to see the giant, which was identified as an example of an ancient race mentioned in Genesis by some believers. Found in the heart of New York's burnt-over district, the giant benefited from the religious fervor sweeping the area. Scientific experts offered another theory of the giant's origin. Dr. John F. Boynton, scientific lecturer, declared that the giant was a statue created by a Jesuit priest during the early 17th century to all local Indian tribes. State geologist James Hall was also convinced that the giant was an ancient statue. A third group said it was a hoax, but this in no way diminished the popularity. And around this time, P.T. Barnum also got involved in this, and he bought the giant to travel around with his circus, which this actually parts out in the article, but this is just a famous story. That's why I know it's because of him. But so he bought the giant to display in his circus, and then after that, it now still resides in the Farmers Museum in Cooperstown, New York, which I've been there because that's where the Baseball Hall of Fame is too, and we stopped there on a road trip when I was a kid.
So you've seen this statue of this fake giant?
Yeah, it's just a stone statue. That's all it is.
Well, when I was doing my Library of Congress research, if you guys go to the Library of Congress site and just type in like, giant display, you'll see all sorts of advertisements. 25 cents, see a giant.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I mean, I'm kind of a skeptic too, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, I could put it down for my house, put my giant, it makes sense, but by staying at the door, but I don't know. What do you think, Moose? Who made dogs none of names? I don't know, Daddy. I don't know.
So are you guys strong believers in the there
I believe
that
I mean
there was at one point.
I think that there still could be.
Okay.
You don't know what lives in those caves that run along the east and west coast of America, or in the high mountains of Canada.
I think America's done.
I think
Or no.
most of them are just tall people, right?
Mhm.
Like, but that one from Mexico, the 32 foot that no one's allowed to see, that's more interesting. That this was discovered, nobody's allowed to see it.
Well, there's a lot of accounts of like 20 to 30 foot long or tall giants. On my YouTube feed today, which is weird because I don't know. I guess the algorithm's working, but
Your phone is spying on you and listening in.
yeah, but I
Oh,
was doing
it
shit
100%
on
is.
other stuff. But yeah, no, it showed me this nut job from where I'm from who was going into all these 20, 30 foot giant. Maybe he's not a nut job. Maybe I'm a nut job.
But that's a whole different thing, don't you think? Like the 20 to 30 feet people is a whole different thing than the 10 foot whatever. Because not that 10, 9-10 feet is pretty impressive, but I can
Yeah.
see that still being, just some genetic, thing. But 30 feet, I'd like to see that. That's crazy. What is that? That's,
Well,
that's
I
different.
I could even see like real races of people that were like, 8 to 9 feet tall. And it was just like a race, like you were Irish or you were Polish or whatever, like there was just this race of
Well,
8 to 9 feet tall people.
if they're 8 to 9 feet tall, I mean, we just know they're not Asian.
There's some tall Asians. You were talking
Well,
about the basketball
so that
player.
biggest skeleton was found in China, so I don't know. It's the
Biggest
biggest
skeleton.
skeleton that's ever been found, for real.
But I mean,
I just don't know why. I guess it would make sense, right? It's going to be if you have a tribe of 30-foot tall giants, it's going to be hard for them to eat, especially since cows are so small and everything
mean-
else is so small. Like
I mean-
vegetables, what would a vegetable be like to a 30?
So you think evolution-wise, they just kind of shrunk down a little? Because
Well-
I mean, the whole thing about the scientists say there's no such thing because Neanderthals were shorter than us, and it's unlikely. But it makes sense if there's really tall people a long, long time ago that they just got
Like with the
smaller to fit.
the dinosaurs, like the really tall people, if there ever were like 30-foot tall people when the dinosaurs were around, is what I would think. Because then
Right,
the
because
food-
everything's big. Yeah.
I mean,
the food is proportioned for them.
I didn't see no giants on the Flintstones there, Scott.
Well, like, think about this, right? You're 30-foot tall and you have a strawberry. That's like
Yeah, they're not
like
eating
eating
strawberries.
one nerd. Well, what do you eat though? Like a whole cow is like a
A handful of humans like,
like
the
a
potato
turkey bone, right?
chips. A handful of humans like the potato chips.
Yeah. But
Maybe.
if that was true, then it would be very easily seen how they got extinct, right? Because they couldn't
Yeah.
feed themselves and we hunted them down.
They'd
And
be
you-
lumbering around because it sounds like they can't move a whole lot, or I don't know.
We'd eat them. We'd eat
We're,
'em.
we're humans. We'll eat anything except other humans. And
Well, they were humans, though, apparently. So
no, they weren't.
We were very good at calling people different than us back then.
But yes, I mean, so I believe next week is my topic, is it not?
It is.
it's going down.
Well, I'm looking at the list I sent Scott a little bit earlier of the cryptid bracket we're doing in my other show, Paranormal Than Normal, and I'm trying to look at the list to see what we can do before we start our month of Christmas-related episodes. And I'm thinking we are going to do. I'm gonna pick, let's say, we're gonna do an episode on Asian cryptids. Everybody picks 3 different cryptids from Asia they want to talk about.
No, aren't what was the Japanese cryptid? Like they call them all a certain thing, right?
Oh, what you mean?
Yukai or yokai?
I don't know, but I mean they have different ones in Japan as well. But I mean it could be Japanese, Chinese,
Laotian? What ocean?
yeah. It could be from Singapore, it could be from Cambodia, any of those Asian countries. So
Sounds
Okay,
good.
cool.
I would just
We're on
avoid
it.
it. Let's just avoid India because we could do a whole episode on Indian,
Okay.
Indian myths and monsters and cryptids. So, but we'll do an Asian episode because look at my list and I don't have that many Asian ones on my list. So we could do
Is
one
your-
over there.
Is your mic still plugged in?
Should be. What? Can you not hear me?
Ever since your puppy was kissing you there, you sound a little different.
Sound pretty low.
There you go. Better.
No?
Better.
That's
There we go.
better. There.
Oh, my mic wasn't just it wasn't near my head. It wasn't in my mouth. But yeah,
Covered by your beard there.
we'll do an episode about Asian monsters or Asian cryptids, I should say,
Sounds good. Yeah.
because Asian monsters is a whole nother topic. But
So what'd you guys think of the Giants? Like, I think it was one of the more fun ones we.
oh yeah, definitely.
I think it's interesting because there's so many possibilities of it being, just a real line of lineage of people, or is it alien, or is it, I don't know. There's lots of different theories.
We didn't even get into Alien, so
I mean, everything could be alien though. So I mean, you can't go by that.
Sure, if you can't explain it, that's how you explain it.
Yeah, basically. I mean, anything can't be explained. It was those damn gray men.
Right? That's right.
Oh, when your puppy's asleep on your leg.
wish I had a puppy. I got a dumbass
give me
cat.
back. Give me,
Christmas is coming.
No, we can't have one.
give this guy 4 to 5 months, and then you can pick up a mastiff puppy from Massachusetts.
Send him on the bus to Scott's house.
You give a puppy about $2,000 or $2,500 each.
I like mutts, man. Mutts last long time. Got a good
That's
20
what I have,
years
a
with
good
a
old
mutt.
SPCA. I went down there. He only had 3 legs, so bargain.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it what
Old
kind
dogs are
of
good.
dog is it?
He's American Bulldog, Staffy mix. So he's that real muscly looking bulldog type. But he's a great big baby. He's cute. But he's a tripod.
Oh,
Seen those 2-legged dogs run. That's pretty crazy. They make do.
They do. Yeah.
I mean, I could see this little puppy doing that if he had to, because the way he hops downstairs and upstairs, it's like he has 2 legs.
Yeah, no, animals are resilient. It's pretty incredible.
Okay, well, you guys want to end the live? We were
Yes.
at an hour.
Let's end it up.
Have
Goodbye,
a happy
everybody.
week, everybody. Woo.
Have a good week and our
Enjoy your
Christmas-
turkey sandwiches for 2 more weeks.
You still got turkey?
Oh God, yeah.
Or do you guys even eat turkey, Deborah?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But no.
No, they eat Canadian turkey. It's better.
Probably. Okay, take it easy, everybody. Stop.